Welcome to Who Knew. We are fans of the current series of Doctor Who, and here we discuss our likes, dislikes, and insights into the modern regeneration of the show. Subscribe, review, and listen to us on iTunes and Stitcher, or our YouTube channel, youtube.com/WhoKnewPodcast. All our episodes are on whoknewpodcast.com. You can leave comments there, or email us at whoknewpodcast@gmail.com. We also have an Instagram and Twitter account. Tweet at us at whoknewpodcast, and find us on Facebook.
I'm Bonnie Ron Louie, and I live in Hillsboro, Oregon. My youngest daughter and I just watched Christopher Eccleston from the first episode.
Kevin from Newport, Oregon.
Do you have a favorite Rose Tyler or Ninth Doctor moment?
Actually, I think probably the first episode, so Rose, the idea of him grabbing her hand saying, run. And that set the tone for the entire season.
Or how would you describe Doctor Who to someone who's never watched it before?
An eclectic science fiction marathon.
My name's Ethan Antrim, and I am from Clarkston, Washington. I would probably say it has some to do with time travel. It has some to do with making sure the timeline stays intact. It's a little bit time travel, a little bit adventure, a little bit horror, depending upon the episode. An all-around fun and heartfelt. Definitely a recommend.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Galver. I am from Salem, Oregon. I love Christopher Eccleston.
I'm Isabel King, and I'm from Vancouver. It's about an alien who kind of looks like a human, and he travels through time and space. But it's hard to describe without sounding like a crazy person.
Do you have a favorite Ninth Doctor moment?
Probably the one where they go to the end of the world. That was just my favorite episode of Nines. It was great. So then I started watching Doctor Who, and I was like, this is fantastic.
Hi, this is Eugene. I heard you guys went to Rose City Comic Con in Portland.
Yeah, you were there too.
Yeah.
This is Josh.
This is Brian.
Hi, this is Kelsey, and I went to Rose City Comic Con.
Hello, this is Auburn. I also went to Rose City Comic Con.
Hi, this is Heather, and I was at Rose City Comic Con too.
A couple of weeks ago in Portland, we were at Rose City Comic Con. This was Christopher Eccleston's first American convention that he went to, and there was a big panel on Saturday with Billy Piper and then Christopher Eccleston. I had a great time.
Wasn't it his second con at all, though, as well?
I believe that's correct. He had one in the UK, and then Portland Rose City Comic Con was his second.
And now he's going all over the place. Gallifrey 1 just announced that he will be there in 2020.
Yeah, he'll be at New York Comic Con, and I may know a few other secrets that I can't tell.
Do you have a favorite Rose Tyler moment?
Hi, my name is Jana Silverstein. I'm from Seattle. Again, Rose was my first. I feel like we saw her really grow through her experience with the Doctor. She went places as a person that you would never have expected her to go when we first meet her. But the end of the world it closed the deal for me. I loved the aliens. I loved the Doctor's interaction. I loved the investment in it. And I loved Rose's realization of what she was actually getting involved with. That completely delighted me because it felt like a recognition of something so much larger than herself, and that this was not going to be safe. And she went with it anyway, and I loved that. And I was hooked. It's hard to pick a favorite with Rose. There are a lot of favorites, I guess.
Probably the moment that she actually gets her doctor, when she gets the human counterpart that only has the one heart, that one, and then where they actually split. Like, I'd seen memes and pictures and whatnot up to that point, but until I actually saw that episode, it was just like, oh, my heart.
And then, of course, with Rose on the beach, like that whole episode sequence is just like tears. Like, it doesn't matter how many times I've seen it, just, yeah, absolutely. Those are kind of my favorites, for sure.
And then, since we're about to go to a panel.
Mm-hmm.
Billy Piper's going to be on, and Eccleston. Is there like a moment, a favorite Eccleston moment, or a favorite Rose moment?
Let me think. Gosh, that's a hard one. I really like the whole, like, when she's trying to go back to see her dad, that episode where time is trying to scrub it clean by making him dead. Just like his like compassion for her, but also just being like, no, you need to let it go. Like, I don't know, like his way of relating to Rose and like seeing her is just really, really cool. Like I really enjoy their and of course like the very end when she takes in, the TARDIS, and is like, I'm going to heal everybody and like change time and all that. For him, like it's just their relationship is really powerful in that way too. So even though it's kind of cheesy and their budget was kind of low, just really love the way that their chemistry developed over the whole season. So
I like the part where she showed mercy to a Dalek because like no one else has ever done that before.
My name is Jenna, and now I'm from Portland. So, well, I mean, Rose really was pretty amazing, and obviously the first companion for this generation. So she's very special to a lot of people.
I'm Michelle from Newport, Oregon. Start with Rose. Definitely start with Rose, and then from there it just gets better.
And what are you doing here today?
I am here to see Christopher Eccleston at Rose City Comic Con.
But before we get into Christopher Eccleston's panel, let's talk about Billy Piper's panel.
Welcome, as loud as we can, Billy Piper to the stage! A wonderful turnout. Thank you for coming.
The one thing I remember is that she was asked by the audience her favorite line.
Line that you say as Rose Tyler, and if so, could you quote it? It's not really as Rose Tyler, it's more of the moment, which is...
What was that moment? I don't remember it from the show.
It was in the 50th anniversary when she played the moment instead of Rose. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't like that answer. I would want something from her original run.
Overall, I think she did a really good job, though, connecting with all of the different audience members.
Yeah, they were really great at fielding, questions that maybe weren't the most in depth. They always brought a lot more depth. I think she probably coached Christopher Eccleston beforehand, because both of them brought a lot of depth out of the answers that could have just been almost like a yes or no answer.
Agreed. And the quality of the questions at Rose City Comic Con were really great. I've seen some bad questions, I'm sure we all have.
Yes.
But everyone in line at this Comic Con, like, they just asked great questions all around.
Yeah, I was waiting for the moment when there would be a bad question. I think we only got maybe one the whole time.
What's your favorite color?
No, I don't think we got that. Yeah, more on what things I just wrote down from Billy Piper's panel. She enjoyed all the Cassandra stuff in New Earth.
So, like we said before, there are so many. I also really enjoyed the Cassandra stuff. Because that was really fun to see everyone do the Cassandra version and the interpretation, and that was always a great laugh.
Where Cassandra was in Rose, if you guys remember that.
Yeah, that would have been really fun to play her, to play Rose as Cassandra.
Yeah. Another thing that Billy Piper mentioned is that she was not afraid of the mannequins in the first episode, Rose, but she is afraid, strangely, of mascots.
That's right. And then someone asked her, what's it like to be at a Comic-Con with all the cosplay?
And she said, so far it's been okay.
No one's ever gone up to her maybe in one of those costumes so far.
No, I hope not. But speaking of other costumes, she liked the foamy smell from the Sladine costumes, which I thought was very interesting from a behind-the-scenes aspect.
Yeah, it's extremely ironic considering the gag of those characters.
I know.
Oh, yeah.
I'm surprised no one mentioned that during the panel. I was waiting for someone to say something about it. Or maybe it was just a collective laugh because we all knew it.
Yeah, and then she mentioned also that the first time she knew that her role in Doctor Who was really big was that the 5th episode had aired and she was at a wedding, and all anybody at the wedding could talk to her about was Doctor Who.
Oh, that's right.
That was quite interesting how early on she figured it out, or it kind of hit her.
Well, especially in Britain, right? Like, I don't know if we have the same sort of long-standing like pulp. I guess Star Wars would be like our pop culture thing that has survived decades. But yeah, that would just be crazy to restart that. And I'm sure like Ewan McGregor and Natalie Portman were all very happy to be involved. And then fortunately Doctor Who went a very good way, even though Star Wars might not have went the best way possible.
Right. Well, this newer round is doing better than the
Yeah.
last. But yeah, I was actually talking to someone else the other day too, just saying, how much Doctor Who is considered royalty in Britain.
Yeah, it's, I think, just part of the culture over there. Another thing I wrote down was that she was asked a question about Rose's departure and how the rumors were that Billy didn't particularly like the way Rose left the show, and she said that she supported those rumors. And I think the exact quote was, it was a lesser version of what it could have been. And she would have liked to see the domestic life playing out with the half-human Doctor.
What else? I mean, it just, I guess that I really enjoyed, and I will always remember Doomsday really fondly, even though it's devastating. I think because it felt so real, it just felt like, I don't know, I couldn't sort of, it just felt like a genuine well of emotion. So it's very rare that you experience that when you're working.
Rumor has it that you did not like the way that Rose Tyler was left off at Doctor Who.
Yeah, well, there's the rumor I support. That's unfair. Like, I don't dislike it. I just thought it wasn't fully satisfying. I mean, but that's not. I'm not sort of slagging off the writing because the writing is impeccable. It's just that it's a lesser version of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I sense that Rose felt like that too. It's just that, okay. And I think that's right. I think that is what it would feel like. So I don't think we were playing that unfairly. However, what I would like to see is that life playing out domestically somewhere.
So she's talking about with the clone Doctor. She's not talking about the first time that we said goodbye to her when she went to the other Pete's world.
Yes, she is definitely talking about the Journey's End at season 4.
Gotcha.
Yeah, she was just kind of like, I got a carbon copy. I want the original.
I mean, I think she made out better than any of the other ones, but I would have been okay with a carbon copy rather than nothing, but, it's just me.
Rose Tyler essentially says goodbye to the 10th Doctor twice, and both scenes are really emotionally charged. Which was more difficult for you?
I think Bad Wolf Bay. Way worse.
Why?
Because it's like the first trauma. I think the second time she's harder, you know what I mean? And there is a level of expectation, and she seems so much more mature in that episode. I think she sort of goes from being a young girl to a woman, and so it's somehow less obsessive.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kelsey, I remember you liked the moment where one of the questions was asked to her, how can I be a companion?
Oh, yeah. There was a question about someone asked, how could I become a companion? And the cynical side of me was like, oh, the girl's asking like, oh, how can I get into showbiz? How can I be on Doctor Who? But Billy, in her answer, her answer wasn't anything about acting at all. It was all about like what it takes to be a companion, almost like Doctor Who is real and we're all living in this world where we're all potential companions. And I just thought that was really a cool way to answer that question. And I found that Billy did that with all the answers that she gave. They were very genuine and nice. Like, she was very kind to the people who were asking her questions, and I liked that.
Yeah, she was just really sweet and genuine and like caring and loving to everyone. It was a really, not that it was a surprise in any way, but it was really lovely.
Especially someone who is more experienced and has probably done hundreds of these panels talking to fans and has been doing it for years. Yeah, she really did come off very genuine, very caring, very kind.
And she didn't get thrown by any of the questions too. Like I think she said too that she hadn't watched much Doctor Who after she wasn't on it anymore, if I'm not mistaken. But she knew what she was talking about as far as the show and everything, and the fictionalized, points and things. So she wasn't thrown by really any of the questions. She had an answer for everything.
Yeah, the only times that I felt she had to kind of seek help from the audience was when it got into the details, like specific episode names and things. But
right.
Overall, she knew what she was talking about, because when she was asked the question, which doctor, if you could have the chance to go back, which doctor would you team up with? And she said Matt Smith, because that's a doctor she hadn't been with.
Right.
And I thought that was cool that she knew who that was as far as where this person fits in the canon, and also that she enjoyed Karen Gillan and her acting as Amy Pond.
Oh, something that I learned from the panel that I didn't know was that she was a pop star.
Oh, you didn't know that?
Oh, yeah.
No, I didn't know that. But I think that was the first question she was asked, like, what was the transition like from pop star to companion to actress or something? I don't know. I was like, I had no idea.
But she did talk a little about how Doctor Who was one of her very early acting gigs too. I think she said it wasn't her first one, but it was one of her first ones.
And then really, when I started coming to conventions, that's when I really felt the heat and the love of the show in a way that I didn't think I could comprehend before. So conventions really bring that to life.
So after Billie Piper answered questions from the audience, her time during the panel was coming to an end, or ended, and then she walked off. And then the panel continued as Christopher Eccleston walked onto stage and did the same thing with right away throwing it to the audience for Q&A.
I love Christopher Eccleston, but once 10 came around, he's both funny and intense and really emotional, and you cry when you watch him, and it's just really cool. And when Matt Smith came up, the 11th Doctor was like, it'll never be the same. I'm never gonna like Matt Smith. But it was a great transition too. So all the Doctors, I feel like, have been my favorite at one point or another.
And who's your favorite Doctor and why?
I like 9 because he's just super cool, and I think he's one of the more underrated Doctors.
Oh, I see. You're dressed as 9.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Hey, it's Christopher Eccleston, 9th Doctor. He was my first Doctor. Introduced me to the series. I loved his spirit.
My name is Daniel Bentz, and I am currently in Tacoma. But I started with 9, of course, because you have to start with 9.
My name is Paige. I'm originally from Texas, but I moved up here to Oregon 3 years ago. My favorite Doctor is Christopher Eccleston, the 9th Doctor. He was my introduction to Doctor Who, and I love the way he acted. He brought such a fun vibe, but you can sense underneath that he feels that darkness in him, and I just love that so much.
Do you have a favorite 9th Doctor or Rose Tyler moment?
It's unfortunately the last episode that they were together, because he goes in and he saves her, and they do that whole thing where she absorbs the TARDIS, and he's like, I think you need a doctor, and he just plants one on her, and I was like, finally! Yeah, I love that so much.
Are You My Mummy episode. I'm not wild about that episode, but he says, just this once, everybody gets to live, or something to that effect.
That's a great line.
Yeah, he just had such a positive attitude toward life and everything, too. The ninth, like he was just discovering things.
It's the Doctor Dances, the two-parter in London, where the Doctor is just super excited and screaming, "Everybody lives!" And he's just so happy because there's, especially in the newer seasons, there's so many episodes where someone dies or a lot of people die. And for once, we get one where everyone lives. And I like that, and he seemed so triumphant in that moment.
My favorite moment is Everybody Lives. Favorite episode, favorite just everything. Yeah.
I started with Christopher Eccleston, just with the first season of the new series, and I don't even remember exactly how I got introduced to it, but I started watching it. I've always been a sci-fi fan, and I went back actually and watched some of the originals as well, just because I wanted to kind of see where it came from. And I had seen Christopher Eccleston in so many different things, but this was the first time that you really see him like a childlike energy, because he's usually playing a villain. So it was just wonderful to see that and to see him be able to play. But I don't have a particular moment that sticks out that I can say, oh, this was so great. So
I've only started with Eccleston and gone forward. I'm kind of excited to see Eccleston. He was my first Doctor, and Billy Piper was the first companion. Like, you can never unknow your first. So it's a heartfelt moment to meet both of them. Well, to see both of them and to get to see both of them.
I absolutely love you, and you were the best Doctor in my personal.
Did you say that to David Tennant? Matt Smith? Well, thank you very much.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure. I'd like to turn things over to questions right away.
Hi. First of all, I want to say I feel like you don't get enough love.
I wrote down that one of the first things that Christopher Eccleston was asked is that if you could come back, who would you...
Who would be your companion?
Yeah, who would be your companion? And he said, there's only one, it's Rose. And we got a nice aw moment from the audience.
Aww.
And he also said that in this day and age, it's great to have a female doctor, and Rose should have been the first female doctor. But in 2005, society wasn't really ready for that at the time.
Though I don't really know how that would have worked, just story-wise, but...
part of my inner geek logic is saying that Rose, as a character, has part of the TARDIS in her. So then that would naturally transition for her to be the next Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And how I also took it is that society is ready for this. And because he went on this other thing about when Doctor Who came back in 2005, they cast another white, skinny male, where he was saying that times are changing. They could have done this earlier on, but society wasn't ready for it.
Do you ever see yourself playing as a companion, and how would you see yourself?
I think it's time for white, middle-aged males to step aside. And if Billy Piper ever wants to play the Doctor, I'll kiss her. Who wouldn't?
That was going to be my question for her, if she ever saw herself being a doctor.
I think that's what they should have done. Rose should have... I was saying it backstage. Rose should have moved up and become the Doctor.
It would have been an interesting way to handle the limited number of regenerations if at the end of Eccleston's run they somehow did write into the story that Rose became a Time Lord in some fashion and reset the generation count.
Yeah. It's funny because that reminded me of what was going to happen with Ace and the Seventh Doctor. Ace was going to become a Time Lord or Time Lady.
Weren't they gonna find out she had some Gallifreyan
Yeah,
ancestry?
Yeah,
Something like
because her origin is very convoluted for the time. So as they unraveled more of her origin, it was going to lead to her becoming a time lady.
Oh, cool.
And a lot of people asking questions of Christopher Eccleston, where you're my favorite doctor, you got me into Doctor Who, you're my first doctor. And I thought, I got the very, very grateful feeling from him, and very like kind of proud that he was people's introduction. And I really enjoyed seeing that from him, because of the kind of the history he's had with the show, as far as leaving the show and not leaving the show on not good terms.
Yes, I was very impressed with how he told that all the stories. You know, he told some harsh truths about BBC and Russell and how he was treated, and that he was basically blackballed in Britain. He couldn't work for 4 years. And then in the same paragraph, or on the same section, he also spoke about how brilliant Russell is and what a genius he is and how good the show is and things like that. So I really feel that I was very happy for him that he was able to get to a point where this thing that had been so, bitter, I don't even want to say bittersweet, but I had been held a grudge for so long, is now something that at the least be bittersweet, but at the most something he can embrace now and enjoy. And he talked about how a lot of it started to become from the fans themselves. Like, he expected Comic-Cons and conventions to be something like they want his autograph so they could just sell it on eBay, but he started to realize they want his autograph to keep for themselves, because they love Doctor Who so much and they love him so much. And he felt very touched by that, and it really reawakened, or just awakened, his appreciation for the fandom.
Yeah, that was amazing how honestly he was answering these questions, but still holding a reverence for the show. It wasn't just because he mentioned that how Doctor Who came back into the public eye, and it was great for everybody else, but not for him, because of how it ended with him.
Yeah, because he was done when it all came out.
Yeah, so everyone's just cheering about Doctor Who's return, where he couldn't celebrate in that moment.
And I can't quite recall the exact reasoning for what happened. Like, he didn't agree with the way it ended, or he didn't come back, or he didn't want to come back, so they...
Yeah, so what I gathered, because I thought that question would have been asked, but I think they didn't want to bring too much of a downer to the panel.
Right.
But from piecing it from other articles, and just a sense that I got from the panel, was that he didn't get along with, or he disagreed with Russell Davis and how they treated the below-the-line people.
Right.
And then when he decided to leave, they had wanted him to return for at least one more season, so then they had to scrap those plans. But in order to move the show forward, they had to distance themselves from Christopher Eccleston while continuing on with the show. So then he got blacklisted at the BBC because of that distancing.
Well, I also think they badmouthed him publicly as well, from what I gathered.
Yeah.
Well, and it was announced as the third episode, The Unquiet Dead, was being broadcast. That's just the third episode. They already were announcing David Tennant was going to be the Doctor. And he didn't like the way it was handled. He said that Russell was a genius, and that we were all sitting in that room because of Russell, and Russell should get all the credit, but he doesn't like Russell.
Yeah, he flat out said that they don't get along.
They don't get along, and I don't think time has really softened the memory.
No, but I felt like he has moved.
Schofield.
He said.
And they don't forget.
That's right. They hold a grudge.
It's Salford.
For those of you who are listening who are very interested, but he said, because I'm from Salford, and we don't forget that shit. But I felt that he had good energy about him, and I've seen we've all seen some videos and interviews of him in the last number of years where he just didn't seem happy, and especially when speaking about Doctor Who, and things that he talked about, things that happened to him personally recently with his family and himself, and he really seemed to be in a newborn place of existence. And I walked away from that. Well, I don't want you to say I walked away from. While I was sitting there, I just felt really happy for him.
Yeah, me too.
That he's in a good place. He looked great. He sounded great. He really, and again, he took some of those questions and just ran with answers that were very genuine and close to his heart. Yeah, very personal.
Yeah, because when it was very clear that he does not get along with Russell, but he did mention that Doctor Who is back because of Russell, and he says he's borderline genius. So that's where that comes from. And then he also mentioned how his portrayal of the Ninth Doctor is based on Russell.
That was a great story.
All the doctors are a little mad. They're all a little just a card short, And I'm just wondering, they all kind of peppered it throughout their series, and yours was just every episode you had such madness in you, and I'm wondering, was that something you decided to do from the start, or did it gradually come on with you as you played the Doctor?
That was a response to the writing, but also I based my Doctor on Russell T Davies.
Is Russell T Davies insane?
Completely. I remember reading the first episode, and he said the Doctor, because he wanted to get away from the kind of foppish era, that kind of slightly Victorian car crash with Spandau Ballet or something that was going on at one time. So he said the Doctor wears a leather jacket, and I remember thinking, you wear a leather jacket. And Russell, the conversation with Russell is, you will go from, it's very like a conversation with Damon Lindelof, actually, who did Lost and The Leftovers. These have got hyperactive brains and imaginations. So it was taken, the inner pace of my Doctor was taken from Russell.
Yeah. Has anyone ever seen footage of him?
Yeah, he's all over the DVDs.
Yeah. He does a lot of the commentaries. He does a lot of video commentaries. Funny, I don't remember him wearing a leather jacket.
Yeah, he never wore the leather jacket.
When they had the Doctor Who Confidential behind the scenes of each episode, they would always talk to him and interview him.
Yeah, and he's literally all over the DVDs because he's also introducing the deleted scenes and stuff that was cut out. He goes, this is why we cut it. Or, it's usually something that a director would do for a DVD featurette, but he was the showrunner, so I guess that's why he's the one doing it, because this is his big...
Well, that tends to happen a lot with television shows as well.
I also think, Eugene, I think you and I both imitate Russell on the podcast a lot. If we ever say, hello, faithful viewers.
Or hooray.
Hooray. That's from Russell.
I didn't know you were. I just thought you were doing you.
No, that's all.
When do you guys say hooray?
Hooray.
When certain characters come back, we do that.
Hooray.
And is that all from the commentaries that you picked up that personality?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's very fun to listen to.
Yeah, he has a nice energy about him that's contagious.
Yeah, but at the same time, nothing of what Eccleston says surprises me. And I could see how you could love working with him or you could hate working with him. I don't think there would be any in between.
It was just so surprising to hear such candidness and a criticism, but yet still be okay to talk about it in a public forum.
Well, yeah, and being in a room full of Doctor Who fans, and we still are like, oh yeah, this is so good. This is, I'm glad I'm hearing this. I'm glad I'm hearing this. It wasn't uncomfortable.
And there was no sense of any, I think that was something he was probably surprised about too, that he's been embraced. He probably felt like people, even fans would hate him, because he had such negative stuff surrounding him as far as that's concerned.
He was clearly nervous at first, but he did calm down and get relaxed, and by the end I was like, I do think he is actually, he might not be having fun, but he's enjoying himself.
And he was a good sport.
Yes. Well, two things, just to continue it. There wasn't any Russell bashing, which I thought was great. He just gave his opinion on Russell. So I think that's why it didn't create any animosity in the crowd, because it was like, well, this is his honest opinion. Can't be upset with that. And then at him, I don't think there was no Ninth Doctor bashing that he thought he might get. It was like, no, we loved what you did as the Doctor. And I think that made him very happy. And then the other thing I was saying was I really liked the moderator. She moderated Billy Piper as well. And there was no chit-chat, small talk. It was basically, let's get right into the questions. This is what, fans want to ask questions, so we're just going to have questions. That scared me at first, but then it turned out okay because of the quality of the questions. And she knew when to follow up on a question and when not to. And she was also good at, if the question wasn't particularly good or a little crazy, he knew how to deflect it and reword it into something a little bit more interesting that both he and Billy could answer. So I thought she was great.
Or even she would just politely ask, would you like to ask another question?
Yeah.
So I want to give her due, and her name is Steph Strickland.
She tweeted me.
Is she in local news?
I believe so.
I just thought both those panels were just really well done.
But they were like the same panel though, because no one had to leave the room. But I was really sad that Eccleston and Billy Piper didn't get to share the stage at the same time at this joint panel. Because it was the same panel, but it was two separate panels because they weren't on stage at the same time. Like, even if they had just been on there for like 10 minutes on the couch together to get to watch them answer questions together, or
maybe in the future when he gets more comfortable with what, I don't think he knew exactly what to expect. So it's like, why complicate things more, and
yeah. But like, if I was nervous about doing a panel, the last thing I would say is, yes, just open it up to the questions from the audience. I just want all questions from the audience. I would be like, no, I want questions only from the moderator. I want to see those questions ahead of time. I want to know what you're going to be asking, because when you are asked questions by the moderator, I assume that you know what they're going to be ahead of time. And when you just throw it to the audience, you have no idea what you're going to be asked.
Yeah, it went surprisingly well.
Being from Los Angeles, and I've gone to all my conventions in Los Angeles, the crowd in Portland was, quite honestly, so much better. I mean, if I'm being honest, it was literally like, yes, these people are fans, but they're not crazy.
They're not fanboys.
Yeah, they're not fanboys. They're not fanatics. They really don't think that, Billy Piper has traveled through time in a police box. They're like, this is a really good television show. I really enjoy it. Whereas in LA, you really do get those like really weird questions where you're like, somebody needs to escort them out quickly.
And into a straitjacket.
None of that happened in Portland. And the other thing too was, I thought people were there for the love of their particular genre, so it wasn't all Doctor Who. It was a bunch of different things. But in LA, when you go to conventions, or San Diego, so many people are there to be seen. Take a picture of my fantastic costume. That's why I'm here. And it was just kind of like, no, this is just people having fun.
Yeah, because my experience with that is that when people ask things at the bigger conventions, it's usually like, can you sign this for me?
Yes.
I'm like, that's not what this is for.
Yeah, can I have a hug?
Yeah, that's not a request. Your duty up there is to ask a question, not to have a personal favor granted.
With great power comes great responsibility.
Just don't be stupid.
Asking a lot, okay?
I know, but Portland delivered. Not stupid. They delivered really good things.
It was a good vibe up there.
Kelsey, what you're mentioning earlier about them not sharing some sort of stage time, I thought it was okay because we were there to focus on Billy, and then we were there to focus on Eccleston. So I think if they had been on stage together, it would have seemed like favorable to one or the other. And I think
What do you mean?
because if they're on stage, then people are asking questions. It would be either Billy heavy or Christopher Eccleston heavy. So
Well,
I
see, I wouldn't have them answer questions during that
No, I know,
time.
but in the format that they were presenting, that's how it would have happened. And I think that was smart that they weren't on stage at the same time, because I kept thinking about what you
yeah.
were saying.
It's just when I read in the program that it was going to be a Billy Piper, Christopher Eccleston panel, immediately I was like, I thought they were going to be on stage together at the same time.
Yeah, and I completely understand where you're coming from, but given the format that they presented us with, I think that was the smarter choice, so that it would have made one of the or the other feel like, oh, they're here for them, not me. So I'm glad that didn't happen, and it felt like everything was directed at that person at that time.
It would have been cool if in the changeover they at least had shared like a hug or a selfie with the audience with both of them, because they do have such a history together.
Yeah, quick photo.
I mean, like in front of the whole panel would have been neat.
Yeah, I mean, when I found out that they weren't going to be on stage at the same time, I was like, oh, do they not like each other? Like, my mind immediately went there. Like, oh, do they not, like, because I knew that, his exit from Doctor Who was a little, had some drama attached to it. I didn't know what the drama was or anything, but I was like, oh my gosh, like, I didn't realize that they weren't amicable towards each other. Which I don't think that's the case. No. Like, I don't think that's why they didn't share stage time, but that's what I thought when I first heard.
Oh, but speaking of the opportunity to get them together, I thought that there was going to be a photo op with both of them, like there are at like Gallifrey 1, where they have, oh boy, what was the companion for the Sixth Doctor?
Perry?
She was there. Was it Perry? Yeah, Perry and the other Baker, Colin Baker, where they had their separate photo ops, and then they also had both of them together. So I thought that was going to happen, but we still got our photo with both Billy Piper and Christopher Eccleston separately, so I can't complain there either.
And we should notate that is a personal decision on the talent's behalf and has nothing to do with the organizers of the show.
What, like joint or panel?
Whether they want to do photo ops or panels together is up to them. So.
The actors, you mean?
Yeah, it's up to the talent. It's.
And their managers, I guess. Whatever the case may be, we have great photos with them. We were all there. It was, I don't know, it was great. It was amazing how those turned out. And you can see them on our social media. But yeah, that panel was probably the highlight of my time at Rose City Comic Con. I never thought I would meet the Ninth Doctor and Rose, the companion, from the first season of this rebooted version in 2005. They were all done in the UK. I never thought that they would be together in one place in America.
I think all of our Lyft drivers, Uber drivers were fans of Doctor Who, or at least a known show.
But they all knew about the convention, and they were all like really excited about the convention.
Yeah, everybody knew about the convention, and a lot of our Lyft drivers knew about art and like different things around town. Like it was very obvious that the town is an artsy town.
Oh yeah.
So back to the Doctor. Eccleston finally showed his kids episodes of the Doctor.
Well, I have a 6-year-old daughter called Esme, a 7-year-old son called Albert, and recently my son said to me, "Daddy, somebody came up to me the other day and said, your daddy's the best doctor. Does that mean you make people feel better?"
Oh yeah, that's right.
And I thought that was great. And it's funny that people, when they say who their favorite Doctor is, some of them said that to Christopher Eccleston. And a couple times they said, "You're my favorite Doctor." And then he took it in a good way, and he said, "Did you say that to David Tennant? Did you say that to Matt Smith?"
I went around while we were waiting in that really long panel line, and I went around and that was the question I was asking people in line who were willing to talk to me on tape, and I asked that question, like, who is your favorite doctor? And I got a mixed response, and a lot of them said the ninth Doctor.
Yeah, one of the persons asking a question said, "I got into Doctor Who by people swearing up and down that my favorite Doctor would be Tennant or Smith."
So I got into Doctor Who by people swearing to me up and down my favorite Doctor would be David Tennant or Matt Smith.
Oh my
And
God.
I watched it. I watched it and you were my doctor.
Yes.
He mimed that he was going to leave the stage, and I thought that was great to take that I don't know what it's called. It's not necessarily criticism, but to take who he is and what space and what popularity other doctors have, and he was able to just run with it. But then she turned it around and said, "I watched it and you were my doctor." And then he said yes, but the way he said yes was like vindication for the job he did. And I thought that was like cathartic for him, but also cathartic for me, seeing him being cathartic.
He's what I saw this character as. So almost every time any of the doctors do things that slightly refer to their past, the first image in my mind is him. Like he's a part of all of them. I mean, all of them are, but like I kind of, whenever they refer to their past selves, their past regenerations, the first picture I think in my head is him.
Another thing that he was able to like talk about in a candid way was the 50th special with the 10th, 11th, and the War Doctor.
I was so surprised he talked about that.
Yeah, because he said that he was, I mean, it's confirmed, and he confirmed it, that he was approached to appear in that special, and he was supposed to be what the War Doctor, you know, the role, the third Doctor in that trio was supposed to be the ninth Doctor.
Yeah.
Reunion with David Tennant and Matt Smith included John Hurt as the Doctor who fought in the war. Something that was really missing in it for me was I was really curious how your Doctor would have interacted with John Hurt's Doctor.
Yeah.
Like
one of my favorite actors. How he would have interacted.
Yes.
They approached me to be in that, but the BBC had still not apologised to me. And I'm from Salford, as I said. I liked Stephen Moffat a lot. I considered it, but I wasn't. It had an enormous emotional impact on me. What happened with Doctor Who is, as the series was going out, as the series was being celebrated, I was being vilified in the press in the UK because of a statement that the BBC issued. And it caused quite a depression in me, actually, that year, while everybody was going, Doctor Who's great, he's gone. Because they kind of smeared me and told lies about me. So when it came along, I did speak to them. I didn't feel that what they were asking me to do did justice to the Ninth Doctor. So I said, no, but the virtue of that is that we then get the War Doctor, because if I'd have come back, you wouldn't have got the War Doctor. The War Doctor was there precisely because the Ninth Doctor wasn't, and John Hurt's a far better actor than me. And that opened up a whole new dimension with John Hurt, so it was a positive thing.
But what really got me about that, the candidness of him there, is that he acknowledged that he was out of work. Like he said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to get paid. But we got John Hurt as the War Doctor, and he said that just opened up a whole new dimension. And
yeah, that was great.
What was it that he said when he met John Hurt?
Yeah,
we're
John
entangled,
Hurt,
you and.
No, John Hurt. He said we're mingled, you and I.
Yeah, that's right.
And another thing that he mentioned is that his least favorite Doctor is himself because he can't watch his own work. And he said he treated it like a job, Like he went there to do the thing.
Right, yeah. Someone asked him, how did you deal with the enormity of it? And I think that's when he talked about how it's royalty over there. Maybe that's what I was actually referring to, where I didn't even realize it. And he said that the only way he was able to do the work without being overwhelmed by it was to just treat it like it was any acting job. Like he went on saw what his call time was. He did the scripts and he talked to the director and he did his lines and then he went home.
That was a big undertaking. So I think his method to fulfilling that role was apt and accurate for what he did. And then he mentioned that his least favorite companion is Mickey.
Very fitting.
I'm surprised he didn't say Mickey because he's an idiot. He normally says Mickey the idiot.
Yeah.
Did he acknowledge to watching any seasons after him?
Oh, I don't think he did. I would be really surprised if he actually did watch anything.
He was very outspoken in support of things that we would traditionally say, like women's rights or equal rights. Like he's very gung ho. Yeah.
And he does have a new book out.
Oh, I know. My plan is to buy it, read it, and then ask him a question from it at Gallifrey 1.
There you go.
About Chapter 5, My Time in Doctor Who.
Yes.
No, but it's from the book, guys. The question's from the book. Has anybody mentioned how stunningly handsome he is in person?
Oh, so handsome in person. And not even like he looks different in like when you're like 2 feet away from him than even like 20 feet away from him when he's on the stage. Because
in his Instagram he posts pictures, and for the longest time he had like a beard and kind of scraggly hair. But then when we saw him in person, I'm like, you look healthy. You got a haircut. There's your skin tone looks good.
His eyes were so
great.
blue. Woo.
Yeah, his eyes were very blue.
And then he also went on to mention that he enjoyed the first ever episode of Doctor Who, The Unearthly Child, and if he would return, he would want to shoot it in black and white.
Well, and I like that he had his own anecdote about hiding behind the furniture as a kid, and that's something that you and Brian have brought up as the prototypical like British expression of watching Doctor Who as a kid, was hiding behind the sofa or something.
Yeah.
So it was really cool to see how much of a fan he still is for the original Doctor Who series.
Well, I will just say real quick that if you do want to see any pictures of the panels and stuff, the Rose City Comic Con Facebook, at least, I know has some photos. I don't know if the Instagram does.
Not the Instagram, just the Facebook.
There was a photographer taking pictures during our panel, wasn't
there? There was.
Yeah, I have them. I'll have to share. I'll write an email to myself right now.
So that was Saturday, but before the big panel, we also did a cosplay meetup, and it was great to see all the fans dressed up.
Oh, that was so much fun. Going back to how awesome the Portland or the Rose City Comic Con attenders were, and most of them seemed local. Like everyone was really shocked when they found out we were from LA. They were like, why?
Yeah, you can definitely see those photos on, I believe, the Rose City Comic Con Facebook page. They posted a bunch of them from that. Yeah, so that was the Doctor Who stuff that happened on Saturday. And then we were invited to Rose City Comic Con to fill in their programming for other Doctor Who fans. So on Sunday, we had a dual panel back-to-back in the same room. So we spent 2 hours in room 4 or room 7. And then our first panel was our season 5 overview. So we did an actual episode of ours live with an audience at Rose City Comic Con. And that one will be posted on the regular schedule of where it fits in. And then after that was the Doctor Who trivia to see if Who Knew Knows Who. And we played a trivia game that Heather wrote like 80% of it, and then me and Frank updated it and kind of evened it out as far as questions that related to which doctor. We didn't want it to be one doctor heavy on one round, so we kind of balanced that out, and it turned out that we kind of came up with questions that were a little difficult.
We should also mention that I wrote that years ago, so
that's besides the point.
No, because I was playing, yeah. But I mean, I got just as many wrong as I got more wrong than I should have. So
But the whole point was to get the audience involved, because the key thing to this trivia was if you didn't know an answer, you would throw it to the audience, and if they got it right, we would give them something.
yeah,
And our audience was great.
they knew their stuff.
Yes, they did.
I felt there was one gal in front who refrained from answering everything. Like, she wanted other people to give other people a chance. Like, she seemed to know everything. And I got a big kick out of when Kelsey at the end, you said, like, well, so who won? And she said, we did.
The
meaning that the audience did.
Yeah, she was there for our first panel, which was the Season 5 overview, which didn't have much audience reaction, so I was very glad that she stuck around and was able to participate in the Doctor Who trivia.
No, it's definitely a learning experience all around, I think, for us as a podcast and for the audience. Hopefully they got to know us a little bit better.
Yeah, we definitely got a bunch of likes and followers after that weekend.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, they love us.
Yeah, it was, yeah. And it was great that, Heather, you were able to join us for both panels, because it seemed like you weren't going to be able to join us for the trivia one.
Yeah, I'm really glad I was able to make it. I had so much fun, and I've never been a panelist before. I hardly even ever get to see panels because I don't particularly work in the programming aspect of conventions. So it was an awesome experience for me. So I'm so glad you guys were able to make it.
Yeah, and you were on the same coast, so we got to see each other physically
For the first time
instead of
in
just
so long.
I know. It was just great to be there, as opposed to be there on a little Skype screen.
Oh, you guys, it was great. I got so many hugs.
Yeah, the Doctor Who trivia was a blast. I would like to do that again if we get invited next year.
Never.
Yeah, the trivia was fun. I mean, I had fun with both of them, but the trivia was really fun.
Yeah, I'm glad we did that second, because that was the one to end on.
Oh, yeah.
And another thing, when we were getting deeper into the rounds of trivia, certain people were answering quite a number of times. So by the time I got to them, I said, "Which pair of socks do you not have?"
Oh, I'm so glad you were doing that. Because I was kind of wondering, going, oh, they're going to get the same pair over and over again.
No, I could see who had more than one correct answer, so when I went to them, I like, which ones don't you have? The other thing that was new that we brought to this comic convention were new buttons. We had a redesign, thanks to Josh, of the circle one, and then we had a square one, thanks to Frank and Brian, for their idea.
Yeah, I like the square one. I think it's classic.
I've even gotten compliments of it at work, because I have one up in my cubicle. And I even had people walk up to me and go, "Where'd you get that button?"
I know. Interesting, considering they didn't even know what it was in reference to.
Yeah.
Aside from some of the visuals.
And it was at the time, it was before the cosplay photos. And so at that time, I didn't have any extra buttons with me. And it was like, oh, I'll just give you mine. And I gave mine, and I think I gave Frank's away. And Eugene, didn't I give yours away?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine disappeared at some point.
Yeah.
I was passing out buttons after our trivia panel, and half the room was filled up with new people for the Harry Potter panel, and they were taking our buttons as well.
Oh.
Like, people just love buttons.
Yeah.
I mean,
That means that when we go to Gallifrey 1, we have new buttons, and hopefully we'll have ribbons as well, because I know that is a very ribbon-heavy Comic-Con.
Yeah.
Anything else you guys want to mention, Doctor Who related to Rose City?
The coincidence that it's Rose City.
Oh, I never even thought about that.
And Billy Piper was there?
What?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Nobody mentioned that in the panel?
I guess not. They were just too excited.
That's why you need the moderator to talk.
Everybody was just in awe that they were there, I bet.
Aw.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Rose City Comic Con, for having us be a part of it.
You're welcome.
We also enjoyed the weather. We actually got rain.
Oh,
I know, it was nice.
I mean, I miss you guys now that I live on the East Coast again, but I'm really glad I have rain back.
Yeah, thank you, Rose City Comic Con. Thank you, Portlandians, for opening your arms and being so polite and nice.
Don't get shanghaied.
So that wraps up Rose City Comic Con. We'll see you next year when the future becomes the present.
Nice.
You've just listened to an episode of Who Knew?
Our wonderful theme music is by Michael Grady.
Find him on Facebook at The Universe Explodes.
All our episodes are engineered by Auburn.
You can find him at auburnbinkley.com.
You can also find this show in several places.
Follow us on Twitter at Who Knew Podcast.
Subscribe, review, and listen to us on iTunes and Stitcher.
Or our YouTube channel, youtube.com/whoknewpodcast.
All our episodes are on whoknewpodcast.com.
Visit our Facebook page. Please leave comments, reviews, and click like to help support Who Knew Podcast.
To listen to our show on your Amazon Echo device, enable the AnyPod podcast skill. Ask AnyPod to play the Who Knew podcast.
This podcast is inspired by Doctor Who,
the longest-running sci-fi show in history.
And especially the revival, spearheaded by Russell T. Davis.
Thanks to Russell, Sydney Newman,
Verity Lambert,
Ron Grainer,
Delia Derbyshire,
and all those involved in the adventures of our favorite Time Lord.
Your work continues to inspire and entertain.